Welcome to Sessions. This episode is brought to you by Spokesio. Spokesio is a software app that is created for all athletes, a networking site that connects you to athletes around the world, and it connects you to all scouts, soccer, football, basketball, baseball, hockey, tennis, field hockey, you name it. Spokesio is the app you want to be on. So go to spokesio.com right now and download the app. Again, this is Sessions. This is our first episode back in like 2 years, and we wanted to revisit youth sports because last time we did youth sports, it was a lot different, we could imagine, than from what it is now. So today we're going to talk about youth sports, in particular how COVID has impacted your youth sports organizations. So we brought some coaches for you guys. We got Donnell, we got George, we got AB, and we have Lauren. I am one of your hosts. My name is Sean.
Yes, sir. Jay Holt.
John L.
Let's go around everybody and talk about what you coach and where you coach. Let's go ladies first. Lauren, then Donnell, George, and then AB. Introduce yourself.
All right. Thanks, Jay. And thank you guys for having me on here. My name is Lauren Barron. I am a Danbury native, but I currently live in Boston, Massachusetts. I'm not a current coach, but I coached for a very long time. I used to coach Danbury Youth Lacrosse. I was the head of the girls lacrosse program, and then I coached at Danbury High School. I was the JV coach for 3 years, and then the head coach for 3 years.
Okay.
What's going on, Donnell? My name is Donnell Harvey. Again, thank you guys for having me on. I coach at New Fairfield High School currently as a varsity coach. I was with Immaculate for 4 years before going to New Fairfield, and then I run my own youth program, AC Connecticut Basketball.
All right.
Hey, how you doing? My name is George Fuller. Thanks for the invite, guys. I coach at New Haven, Connecticut at Hill House High School. I'm the defensive coordinator. Been there for about 6 years. I also coach wide receivers. Passing it along.
Thank you, George.
I'm a coach at do a couple things. I'm a coach at traveling / AU program called Brooklyn Rage, which I've worked with on and off, and so run like a whole tournament myself. Tournament / league, mostly in the summers, and we've been doing a little bit in the winter, and mostly it's from all age groups, but usually from junior high and high school is the main focus, because that's the the group that we usually get from everybody.
Okay.
So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so I'll just start us off with this question. I feel like everybody could kind of share their thoughts on this question. I'll toss it around to Harvey, right? Harvey, how has COVID impacted, you coaching, whether it's AAC or your high school that you coach at? How has that impacted you at all, if it has?
It has. It definitely has. It had a big impact. When COVID first happened and things first got shut down, it was kind of fortunate that it was warm outside. So a lot of things were able to kind of just get transferred to outside. Kids could still work. A lot of tournaments and other programs kind of made the same adjustments. We're finding outdoor courts to be able to continue to play. But in the winter, it's much different. They, as you guys probably know, they recently had shut things down completely. So all gyms, everything were closed. And I think that was the toughest time for the athletes and the coaches, because you can give them as much Zoom work as you want, but it's not the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So unfortunately, when they open things back up, give an example right now with the high school season, we're allowed 12 regular season games compared to 20. You can't play anybody outside your conference. And the season is basically 4 weeks long. So right now you've got 4 teams in our conference who are quarantined. And because of that, our final week, we'll play 5 games in 7 days. So you really won't have any practice, anything. So it's kind of just getting the adjustments going along with it.
Not to mention the fatigue, right? I mean, we know they're kids. We all say they're kids that have energy, but it's still a fatigue level of playing that many games in such a stretch.
Yeah.
And not to mention with the mask.
So I see you guys are shaking your heads. Do you guys want to chime in before you kind of talk about your experiences and how COVID has impacted you? What is the mask theory? Are you guys, what are your thoughts on
that? Go ahead, AB.
Thank you, man. It's really tough, man, because we play ourselves. I'm sure you guys, since we deal with sports, we do a little bit ourselves, and we played maybe like half a game with it, and that's outside. So imagine inside, with no air or anything. It's tough, man. And I had like a thin layer of mask on, like a little cloth one, just to have some kind of safety. But some places they talking about double masking. How are you gonna do that, man? It's tough. It's like, I don't know, man. Whatever you exhaling out, it's going right back in. I'm not a scientist, but I think a lot of that stuff, I don't think you want to put that right back in.
I'm just going to say, myself, being out there as a coach, they did let us, do some football in the spring. And me having the mask on, trying to yell and trying to, raise my voice and talk, I was struggling to do that. And I'm, watching my players go through these agility drills and do conditioning drills with the mask on. I'm like, how are they doing this? I can't run with this mask on. I can barely talk to you guys right now.
The only thing I will say, I take the mask all day as long as they allow them to play.
Yeah, I could do that.
Like, as long as they don't shut it down.
Yeah, that shut down.
I know, at least from my standpoint, the players feel the same way. They're like, look, half the time the mask isn't even on correctly when they're playing. So it doesn't really make any difference. Half the time it's down under the chin. It's irrelevant at that point. But to allow them to play, I'll take it. But it's definitely tough.
So let me ask you this: when it comes to the masks, do you think it's actually is it a benefit to the players while they're out there? Like you said, some of them, sometimes it's underneath their face, but they're bumping bodies, they're running into each other, they're breathing, sweating on each other. Like, is it safe? Or do you guys think we're taking as many precautions as possible and, just kind of making it work?
Me personally, I don't think the mask really makes much sense for basketball. It's a high contact sport. You got a lot of contact, sweat. Guys are in the post, they're breathing on each other. The mask isn't really doing much. Like, even them classifying basketball in their standards as a medium risk sport, I don't understand how basketball is medium risk and like competitive cheer is high risk. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, I'm kind of jealous as a football coach because, we got shut down. There was, in the spring, they let us do 7-on-7s. We had to wear a mask, and they let our linemen do, a couple drills, and we let them do 7-on-7s just to let them have some fun. We can only go against two other schools, but, after the 7-on-7s in the spring, we were done. We weren't allowed to do anything else. So like you said, I wish they let us wear a mask and do something.
George, I got a question for you. We're coming off just watching the NFL season, where most of the people who had to sit out were precautionary because of close contact, not actual positive tests. So you saw the entire regular season go by, plus the playoffs and the Super Bowl, yet you're going on 2 years without being able to play football out there in the way that you were doing before. So how are you feeling about seeing professionals able to do it, but not your high school team?
It's very confusing because we follow the guidelines the same way as everybody else. In the spring, we had a kid that had a positive case, so we shut down for the mandatory time. All the coaches got tests. We came back, everybody tested negative, and they let us come back and, finish the 7-on-7s in the spring, but then they shut us down. If we're going to follow protocol and we're going to do what we're asked to do, let us keep going until there is an issue. In the NFL, they played the whole season. There were issues, there were problems, but they faced it.
I think that's where the frustration comes in with the kids. They're turning on their TVs and they're seeing this happening and they can't get out there. So it's adding another level of frustration. But at the same time, it's extra unfortunate because they're not getting paid to play. So obviously they're not set the same priority as those other athletes. It just makes it unfair.
It's a great point.
Yeah.
Kids are watching the NBA bubble. Kids are watching the Super Bowl and wondering why, it's not like they have these huge important teams that are working with every single player. It's not some very intricate process. It's the same testing and precautions that they go through on a regular basis. So, you're 15, 16. What if you're 17, 18 looking for that scholarship and you can't get out there because the state won't let you play? That's tough. But LeBron's out there. Pat Mahomes is out there. That's tough.
Yeah, I mean, Lauren, I have a question for you. You're not currently coaching, but you did
Correct.
coach and you played, sports, and you played collegiately as well. You currently teach as well. Are you seeing the impact of COVID on your I'll just let you go ahead and say it.
It's a lot. Everything is a lot right now. Obviously, you guys all know that, especially you, Sean, because you're a teacher too. But, I have a lot of students who are athletes, who are constantly vocalizing the fact that they need to be out on the court, or they need to be out on the field, or they need to be outside with their friends. I have parents who I talk to, because I'm constantly reaching out to the parents, checking on these kids, and they're like, because Boston right now is very limited. Very limited. They did like half a basketball season. Soccer, the fall season's just starting up in a couple of weeks because they can be outside, but they haven't really done anything since last spring. So it's really, really tough. And they're constantly, letting me know that they're frustrated. Their parents are telling me that they need them to get back out there, that, they won't come out of their room. They're getting angry at home. It's affecting their person. And that's really tough to see, because then that translates, into all aspects of their life. We know that, sports impact everything in our lives. So for that impact to be negative, while they're still developing as humans, is really, really tough. I teach middle school. I teach 12, 13, and 14-year-olds. And the age is pivotal for their development as a human. So the fact that this time has been so negative for them is awful to see.
Yeah, no, I could imagine. Again, I teach the same, level of kids, and constantly they're talking about, how frustrated they are by just not having an outlet right outside of Zoom at that. We're not even they're not even getting real person-in-person interaction right now. So for them, the sports would have been an outlet where they can get that. AB, I have to come to you because you coach in New York and you coach travel. Has that impacted your traveling at all with your boys or girls?
Yeah, yes, it's with the boys, it's impacted a lot because even though you are able to travel to other states like PA, maybe CT, I'm not sure, but PA for sure. PA doesn't care, right? So you can travel out there. They have events, but it's to get the kids from here to there is an issue. And honestly, I've laid off of it a little bit because I feel like we've been having some adult runs, honestly, and I feel like an adult is responsible for their own decision. You choose to come out here, that's on you. But the kids, I don't want to put that responsibility in myself or the kids, other coaches' hands. And God forbid something happens to these kids, whether it's through us or whoever. And you can't track this thing, right? And it's definitely limited everything, man. And gyms, which would be so accessible. But the biggest issue here is, I'm glad you asked this question, because this is bothering me a lot. I've gotten gyms I can get, but mostly I can get them later at night. So I can't get the kids there. The gyms we get in the daytime, gym owners know now that we need them a lot. But there's some people that are buying gym time and re-renting gym time, which I think is whack. You know what I mean? It's a hustle. I get it. Everybody got a business, but it's taking away every little thing. I want the one event on any day they're off from school. You can't, because what we used to pay $100 an hour for, $180 per hour, $160. It's crazy, man. As adults, we can all chip in, but I don't even want to ask the kids for that much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
with everybody dealing with whatever they're dealing with right now, man.
This is a
Sorry,
question.
I had to get that one off because I hope people frustrated me with that gym stuff, man.
No, we appreciate the candid. This is a question for all of you. Have students been opting out? Like, have families opted out students, or not students? Let me say their kids. Have any of them opted them out of playing due to concerns?
Definitely.
Even in the spring, when they did allow us, there was a couple parents who did not allow their kids to come out there, just because they were, unsure of, this virus.
Are the kids your athletes, are they having to get COVID tested, or are you guys, kind of going by their word? How does that work?
I know, like, at least for us, we basically do like a COVID waiver before every practice. So you're asking kids the simple questions. Do you have a fever? Have you been in contact with anybody? But at the end of the day, it's on them. They know if they say yes to any of the following questions, they're done. So the likelihood of them saying yes to any of the questions you ask is slim to none.
Yeah.
They could have been at home and the whole family could have COVID. Like, you in contact with anybody with COVID? No, nope, nobody.
I don't even know how to spell it.
Let's play ball. They're like, let's play ball.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I think that's the Connecticut mandate, because we had to do the same thing. You have to go over the guideline questions, and you had to do the temperature check, before they went on the field. But long as you're following those guidelines. You guys did the temperature check too, right, Harvey? Coach Harvey?
Oh, I know now, right? They're not even doing a temperature. They're just asking you if your temperature's over 100. How is he supposed to know?
We have people watching us.
It doesn't. It doesn't make any sense. They're like, oh, you have temperature over 100? They're like, nope.
And the biggest thing to me is, like, for example, in the NBA, right? We're playing a game with no mask, and then I go sit on the bench. I got to put a mask on.
It makes no
Doesn't
sense.
make sense, bro.
Yeah. George,
It's a lot of logic. A lot of these, like, rules they just throw out. They just throw them on the fly, man. From our government to our local officials and whoever.
So
I think it's the same way.
So should they just shut it down then, instead of making these rules that seem to be kind of like half and half? Is it better to shut it down, or like still?
You're asking a tough question, Sean. You're asking a very tough question.
That's what
journalists. With the amount of testing that they do on the professional levels, they have to get tested a few times a week, and they're prohibited from going all these places. If you get caught on camera somewhere, you can't play. So that's a lot different than what we have in high school, because you were asking if we got tested in high school. It's like you signed a waiver, and the only time you have to bring back a negative test is if you tested positive. Besides that, it's like you said, you good? All right, get on the court.
Yeah, a lot of it just doesn't make sense. It's even the fact of with the benches. Right now, for the benches, all the seats are 6 feet apart. So they're standing directly next to each other when they're at the free throw line. Then they come to the bench, and the seats are 6 feet apart. It makes no sense.
Lauren, did you get to coach when the pandemic hit, or were you out of coaching at that point?
No, I was out of coaching, but obviously I was still in touch with a lot of my friends who are coaches, especially, the coaches of Danbury High School. It was a transition from me leaving. So obviously my assistant coach stayed to be the assistant coach, and it was rough, trying to get the girls together on Zoom to do team building activities, to, get to know each other, to kind of build that camaraderie that they're missing out on, to kind of maintain it through this time, through the unknown, was really rough. A lot of the times they were saying that it felt like our classes, the girls not responding or not coming, or it doesn't feel as authentic. So it's going to take a lot longer. And especially with a new coach. So it was kind of a mess, to be honest, that's what I heard. But it just makes it more difficult. And I know that they're still struggling. Another full year. You have those girls who were juniors that are now seniors looking forward to their senior year. And it's still Zoom meetings like this, and it's still unknown for them if they're going to have a complete season.
Facts. So let me ask the hard question. Let's go around to all our coaches. What's the best case scenario? What's the solution? Coach Harvey's saying that they can stand next to each other at the free throw line, but then they got to throw on a mask on the sideline when they're just the same proximity. AB made a real great point about he doesn't want to be accountable for minors who aren't as responsible. So let's talk about like accountability and what we want to happen. So we can start with you, Lauren. Like, how does this look in a perfect world? How does this work?
mean, perfect world. God, right now everything
perfect
looks
world
nuts.
It's gone.
Right, perfect world, it's gone. And we cannot take sports away from these kids. We absolutely can't. I think it's really going to come down to making testing available for everybody. There's no reason why one town, I'll use New Fairfield, okay? New Fairfield might have more resources than, say, Danbury, okay? Just in general, so making sure that, the higher income towns and the lower income communities are able to access the same testing, that parents are all communicated with and know everything. They're signing the waivers so that accountability isn't necessarily on you. I think the parents need to be held accountable in situations, but I think it really starts with, the rules being the same everywhere and then people upholding those things.
I would definitely agree with Lauren. I think the biggest thing is the rules need to be the same everywhere. When you just think about from town to town and regulations with basketball, each superintendent has a different set of rules. So you may go to Danbury and they're allowing no fans. You go to New Fairfield, they're allowing half fans. You go to the next game and they're only allowing one parent per player. So it's like,
I saw that.
Everybody's just guessing basically. Like it's basically whose parents are pushing harder, who's gonna allow more people inside. Who's getting sick of getting the phone calls and stuff like that. They're gonna let more people inside. And I think that's just the biggest problem, is not everybody's on the same page.
George, what you got? Well, how do you fix it?
I don't know how to fix it. Besides leveling the playing field, like they both coaches just talked about. We need the same resources, and we need to be able to do the testing. The vaccine is being rolled out, but we need to know who has it, so the kids. So everybody knows who to stay away from. It's pretty simple. Level the playing field. Let everybody get the testing.
AB, what's up? How do you fix this?
I think it's the same, guys. Just like everybody says, it's a tough question to answer, but I think it's so many different angles that they're throwing at us, right? Like you said, this state, this. From the NBA, tell us the NBA or NFL, the major sports, but like they're not even making sense. So it's like whatever. I feel like it should be nationwide, similar set of rules, at least, that we could a plan to go forward with, right? Like sports, it's like we need it. That's like out of the question. You cannot have it. Even though as silly as it sounds, like, yo, bro, people died out here, yes, and that was very sad. And, we have to move forward in a much more safer way as we found out about this, right? But I don't know, we can't just stop either. So we have to find I don't know, man. It's tough, man. It's find the right way, take precaution, and move forward.